Tonight on the Mike Tomlin Show, the final stretch of the 2020 regular season is here, and the Steelers will play 3 playoff contenders in their last 4 games, starting with a trip to Buffalo for Sunday Night Football. Coach Tomlin joins Bob Pompeani to preview the 9-3 Bills and to look back at what went wrong in the Steelers' first loss of the season against Washington. The Steelers' defense is not bashful about wanting to make life miserable for opposing quarterbacks. Coach Tomlin weighs in on the team they're about to pass for the NFL record with at least 1 sack on Sunday. All of that and more as the Mike Tomlin Show starts right now.
Here we go. This pass is caught, and that's a touchdown. That's the way to work. Come on. He's hit that sack. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
The Mike Tomlin Show is presented by 84 Lumber.
Hi everybody, I'm Missy Matthews and welcome to the Mike Tomlin Show presented by 84 Lumber. The Steelers' perfect record came to an end on Monday night at Heinz Field against the Washington football team. It was the Steelers' first game without Bud Dupree, and James Conner, Marquise Pouncey, Chris Boswell, and Steve Nelson didn't suit up as well. Coach Tomlin is never one to make excuses, so let's say good evening to him and Bob Pompeani to talk about the Steelers' first loss.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. Steelers look to rebound as a trip to Buffalo awaits them. We'll get into that in a minute, but first, Coach Mike Tomlin is here, and Coach, I've heard you say that when you look at tape, sometimes it doesn't reveal maybe as bad as you were, and it also doesn't reveal maybe as good as you think you are. Do you still have that same feeling after watching what happened in this last game?
Well, you know, it's less about feeling better or feeling worse for me and just more about gaining clarity about what happened and why. And when I looked at the tape, the obvious thing is, you know, if you can't get a yard, you don't deserve to win. That's a code that I live by. That's a code that I talk to our group repeatedly about. And there were several instances in this game where we had to get a yard, and we were able to do so. And really, when you can't do that, you shouldn't expect to win. And that was the end result. We had a goal line circumstance where we had 5 or 6 shots at it from about 1 yard out, and we were unsuccessful. We had a 3rd and 1 and a 4th and 1 late in the game and during a tie ball game where we were in their territory and had an opportunity to really put an exclamation point on it and seize the game in the ways that we have seized games this year. You know, sometimes your performances are less than ideal, but if you make those significant plays, particularly in the waning moments, it's enough to win. We didn't, and so we didn't. And then on the defensive side, that subsequent drive, we gave up a long pass on the 3rd down that put them in field goal range, and that was all that was required, really. We didn't get off as well in the second half on 3rd down defensively. I thought the catalyst for that was that 3rd and long screen or wide receiver screen there in the first possession that was able to keep that eventual scoring drive alive. We didn't get turnovers on defense, and that's something that we've done at a rate of over 2 a game throughout the season. So there's some real tangible reasons why we were the loser, and it's important that we recognize that and plan accordingly and get ready for our next opportunity.
Now, you mentioned the run game. You will have James Conner back, which should help, but can you pinpoint why it's been sort of in a rut? When you look at the first part of the season, there were 5 games in which you had a 100-yard rusher, 3 by Conner, 2 by Snell. It's not been the same since then. Do you have an explanation for that?
No, it's just, you know, we haven't been solid enough. As attrition has set in, we have lost our rhythm and we haven't been able to find it. And attrition is a part of the game. There are going to be, you know, blocks of time where you miss a guy like James Conner, or you miss a significant blocking tight end like Vance McDonald, or you miss a center or a hub of communication like Marquise Pouncey. The good units, and I'm not talking about units as in players, I'm talking about all of us collectively, players and coaches. The good units find a way to endure. They find a way to keep the standard, and we haven't done that. And I think it's important that we recognize that as we work to fix it.
Once again, unfortunately, the story of this game was drop passes. And if you're going to pass the ball, as much as you guys have chosen to pass the ball, those become drive killers. It affects time of possession. Same thing happened last week, and there wasn't much of a change. Are you disappointed with that, and how do you change that situation?
You know, I don't do a lot of coaching in regards to things like drop passes for those that do it for a living, to be honest with you. That's one of the things that I call making routine plays routinely. If we're talking about receivers in terms of catching the football over an extended period of time, then we need to be looking at different options from that standpoint. And really, that's just the reality of this game at this level. So I haven't lost a lot of sleep over it, to be honest with you. The pattern has to cease, and if it doesn't, then obviously we're going to throw the ball to those who can catch it and can catch it on a consistent basis.
We heard a lot of Washington players after the game said, and I know this is true of every team, you know, after a while, 12 games in, whatever week we're in, there are tendencies, you learn from tendencies, and that's how you game plan. But they seem to indicate that they expected a lot of passes and a lot of short passes. Do you have to deviate from that? Are there too much of the same kind of play calls?
No, I'm not overly concerned about that. You know, that's just one of the advantages that they had going into the game. They had 11 days or whatever to prepare. And so I'm sure it gave them an opportunity to ponder and develop, you know, big-time depth in terms of their game plan, and we did not. We had to remain more fundamental. It wasn't the difference in the game. I'm not seeking comfort in that regard. It is not an excuse. It's just fact. But it's elements and variables in play like that every week. Sometimes they're in your favor. Sometimes they're not. If you have the goods, they're relevant in terms of determining the outcome of the game, and we didn't have the goods on Monday.
One other decision you made was passing up what would have been a 45-yard field goal. If Chris Boswell had been healthy, do you make that call?
You know, that's a big hypothetical. You know, I deal with the variables that are at play. I like the work that Matthew had given us to that point. I didn't feel comfortable putting him in that position under those circumstances. I felt better putting the ball in Ben's hands and in the hands of our offense. And so if I had it to do over, I'd probably do it the same way.
All right, Steelers' first loss of the year. They're still looking good at 11 wins, 1 loss. A big game coming up on Sunday night at Buffalo, a team which is playing very well coming off a Monday night win. We'll talk more about the Bills and what they've done well with head coach Mike Tomlin coming up shortly. Right now, let's head back to Missy Matthews.
Okay, thanks, Bob. And this will be the second straight year that Pittsburgh and Buffalo will be meeting on Sunday Night Football. Still to come here on the Mike Tomlin Show, it was another lousy week for home teams across the NFL, including the Steelers. The road teams were 10-5 in Week 13. The best sights and sounds from Heinz Field are next. Welcome back, everyone. While the Steelers were on their win streak, Coach Tomlin kept preaching to them the only thing perfect about them was their record. Well, that's no longer the case, so let's take a look back at our sights and sounds of the Steelers' first loss of the 2020 season.
An undefeated record puts a target on a team's back. So far, the Steelers have worn theirs well, fending off 11 teams that have crossed their path. The 12th is a Washington team with nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Well, you kind of figured it would be tough sledding today with a couple of top 10 defenses, and that's exactly what we've got.
He's hit, and he is dropped, and that's Robert Spillane with the sack.
That ties an NFL record, 69 consecutive games with a sack.
Tying the sack record seemed to be the only highlight for both teams through the first 15 minutes. In the second quarter, the Steelers' offense started to show some life.
It's pulled in, Deontay Johnson, and he floats a pass down the field, and it's pulled in by Eric Ebron.
Steelers in the red zone for the first time today.
Fakes the handoff, slip screen to DJ. That's Deontay Johnson. Oh, man, he did a great job of hammering the first defender. Ron Darby saying, man, I think a freight train just hit me.
Deontay, as slight as he is, are you kidding me? Coming up, runs over Ronald Darby. How about that?
Throws it to the left side of the end zone. Touchdown. Coming back to the sideline is Deontay Johnson, his 5th of the year.
Ben throws it beautifully.
Here's a nice timing throw. It's a good sell, and then the quick break, and the ball delivered on time by Ben Roethlisberger.
That away. Great route. Great job.
Throws it to the left flat. James Washington, he steps out of 1, steps out of 2. He's at the 20, the 15, the 10, into the end zone for a Pittsburgh Steelers touchdown of 55 yards. Ben Roethlisberger hits Washington, made Kendall Fuller miss, and then made the free safety Everett miss, and the rest is 55-yard history.
Nice job.
That's the end of the second quarter at Heinz Field. 14-3, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the lead. Smith back,
throws it down the field, and the pass is caught. And that's to the goal line to the 1. Logan Thomas took it away from a Steelers defender.
A 14-play drive spanning 82 yards that took them from their own end zone into the Steelers.
And Barber into the end zone, and Washington has made this a football game with an 82-yard drive in 14 plays. You don't like that on the first drive of the third quarter, do you, gentlemen?
Yeah, got to answer.
And draw handoff, and here comes Anthony McFarland showing that spark up over the 20, the 25. And a fake, and over the middle, Deontay for more than enough for the first down. Across midfield, Deontay Johnson slips at the 48.
How badly did they need this one?
Little shovel pass. Ebron eludes one defender, but crosses the 20. A 37-yard field goal attempt, the first of his career for Matthew Wright, and it is good.
Riding the momentum of a 3-and-out, Alex Smith and the Washington offense set their sights on tying this game.
Throws a pass in the right flat. That's caught and pulled in by McKissick, and that's a first down. Throws the ball down the field, wide open, touchdown, Logan Thomas. Thomas, with his 5th of the year, was wide open. We're going to have a brand new ball game here in the fourth quarter.
Let's take it down the field. Now let's use up some clock and go score, okay?
Pass is caught, and that's Juju.
Blitz coming. Roethlisberger spins away. Wow, what a play by Roethlisberger. They came with the blitz. It was untouched, and he still got away for the completion.
Over the middle, Juju, head down. Almost got the first down. Then empties his set on 4th and 1. Gets the snap. Pumps. Throws it down to the near sideline. Oh, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Anthony McFarland. John Bostic had coverage. McFarland had a step, but the pass he just couldn't reel it in.
Now can Washington take advantage?
Now there's a flat pass and a screen to the right, and it's going to be a first down, pulled in by McKissick.
Going deep down the field, and it is caught! One-hander by Sims. This is a 45-yard field goal to give Washington the lead.
There's the kick by Hopkins. It's on its way. That kick is up, and that kick is good.
But now it's all on the line here.
And the pass is batted into the air and intercepted. Bostic ends up with the football, the former Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker. And that is your football game, ladies and gentlemen. The Steelers' unbeaten run has come to an end.
And of course, you can catch the full episode of Sights and Sounds and other great video content right now on the Steelers official YouTube page. But coming up next here on the Mike Tomlin Show, Coach and Bob Pompeani talk about the Steelers' trip to Buffalo for Sunday Night Football.
You're going to face units coming into their own that are good versus the run, are good versus the pass, are good at pass rushing. We got to be good at what it is that we do, and I think that's where I turn my attentions this time of year.
The Mike Tomlin Show is presented by 84 Lumber. Are you 84 Lumber material? Visit 84lumber.com/careers to learn more.
Welcome back to the Mike Tomlin Show, presented by 84 Lumber. The Steelers haven't clinched a playoff spot yet due to the loss on Monday night to the Washington football team. They now have the same record as the Kansas City Chiefs, 11-1, but the Steelers currently have the tiebreaker with a perfect record in the AFC Conference. None of this will matter if the Steelers don't take care of business on Sunday night in Buffalo, and as TJ Watt said after their first loss, they have a bad taste in their mouth. Let's learn more about the 9-3 Bills and head back over to Bob and Coach.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. This is a marquee matchup, or as Coach Tomlin likes to call it, a five-star matchup. You got the Buffalo Bills now at 9-3 and playing well. And coming off their first Monday night win since 1999, they've done a lot of good things, Coach, and it starts with their offense and their quarterback. Josh Allen, another good performance, 4 touchdowns. He's been doing it a lot of different ways. How much of a problem does that guy pose?
Whew, man, he's a big problem. You know, he's a problem with his ability to throw. He's a problem with his ability to extend plays and scramble with his legs. He's also a problem in terms of what they're willing to do in terms of utilizing that mobility in terms of some design quarterback runs. He's their second leading rusher with over 300 yards rushing for the season. And so the schematics and his abilities create a lethal tandem that we have to contend with.
Yeah, and they also brought in Stephon Diggs, who has really been good. He went over 1,000 yards this week. What has he meant to that offense? They needed a big-time receiver. They have their quarterback they like. They've given him some weapons. But that guy has really stepped up to the point of 80-plus catches.
And obviously that's what they intended when they acquired him. I think they paid a steep price for his services, but it's proven to be valuable. He's producing like a number one receiver. He's catching balls in all circumstances. He's catching balls when he has multiple people on him, and those are some of the things that lead dog receivers do. But he's not a one-man gang. Got a lot of respect for Cole Beasley and what he's able to do on the interior element of the field, particularly on possession downs, and together they provide a lot of balance and options for Allen.
And defensively, they seem to do very well, especially in coverage. They got some really good players on that defense, and couple that with that offense. That's why they're 9 wins and 3 losses. Do you do anything differently offensively, knowing that that team is pretty good in coverage? They got big guys like there. Tre'Davious White leads the way.
No, it's that time of year. You're going to face units coming into their own that are good versus the run, a good versus the pass, a good at pass rushing. We got to be good at what it is that we do, and I think that's where I turn my attentions this time of year. Our execution, our willingness, our detail, our finish. That's what it is for us this week, not only for our offense, but in all 3 phases.
You go back a long way with Coach McDermott. He's really changed the dynamic, the culture over there. Are you surprised at all?
Not at all, man. Sean is a good friend of mine. We go back to our college days. Happy for him and his success, but not surprised at all. This guy's a football lover, a student of the game, a guy that puts his all into everything that it is that he does, and so kudos to him and company.
This is the time of year, too, where you see teams surging one way or the other or going backwards. It's a time. You have basically 4 games left, and they're all games in the American Football Conference. How important is that for you now to make a statement and turn this around heading down the stretch and into the postseason?
I'm less concerned about statements and more concerned about the tangible challenges and opportunities of those 4 games you mentioned, man. We get an opportunity to pit our skills against some of the best in the East, in Buffalo, some of the best in the South, in Indy, a couple of division games. It's what you signed up for this time of year. We have to knock those dominoes down one at a time, and I'm looking forward to this group balling their fist up and fighting in the appropriate way.
People like to go into Buffalo in December, some not. That place has a lot of history to it. Do you get excited about road games like this, especially against a team that's doing so well?
I do. I love the weather games, the weather atmospheres, the organizations that have the unique rapport with their fan base like Buffalo does. Those bring out the best in you. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about doing it with this group. But we got a lot of work ahead of us prior to that.
All right, it's the Buffalo Bills coming up. It's a Sunday night game, and it's going to be one that all eyes will be on as the Steelers try to get to 12-1 and keep their hold as the number 1 team in the AFC. When we come back, final word from Mike Tomlin. Right now, let's send it back over to Missy Matthews.
Okay, thanks, Bob. And Coach, of course, knows a thing or two about the Steelers' current win streak. And with 1 sack on Sunday night, Pittsburgh will break an NFL record held by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that Coach Tomlin was a part of. Don't go anywhere. We'll explain right after this.
The Mike Tomlin Show is presented by 84 Lumber.
Steel Curtain 2.0.
Down he goes.
Blitzburg,
Sack.
Steel Curtain.
He is sacked.
Call them whatever you'd like, but Pittsburgh's defense is now historically good.
We play defense, bro. Let's go.
This past week, we saw the Steelers come up with a sack in their 69th straight game, tied for the longest such streak in NFL history.
And he is dropped. And that's Robert Spillane with the sack. Historic moment right here.
The 69th straight game that Pittsburgh has a sack.
Steelers' all-time sack leader James Harrison got the streak started back in Week 9 of 2016 against the Ravens when he took down Joe Flacco.
Flacco out of the pocket, trying to set it up. Flacco brought down by Harrison.
Since then, no other team has planted as many QBs into the turf, the Steelers getting home 236 times.
Flushed out of the pocket, up his back comes Terrell Edmonds for the sack.
The 2017 team set a single-season franchise record with 56 sacks, taking down the previous mark of 55 held by the 1994 and 2001 teams. And the 2020 Steelers are on pace to obliterate the record once again with 58 sacks this season. So many fun facts in so little time. The Steelers lead the NFL with 44 sacks, and TJ Watt has 12. And with just 1 sack tomorrow night, the Steelers can take over an NFL record. Let's check in one final time with Bob and Coach for more on that, guys.
All right, Missy, thanks. Well, the Steelers, they continue to do what they do best on defense, and that is get to the quarterback. 2 more sacks last week. That means 69 games in a row. And, Coach, you've been part of 2 historic runs. This one now ties Tampa Bay for 69 straight games with at least 1 sack. See similarities between those 2 units?
I do, particularly in terms of the expectations. Both units didn't spend a lot of time talking about the record, to be honest with you. Sacking the quarterback is probably on the agenda for both units every time they step into a stadium, and so that's normalcy for them. I think that's one of the things that the 2 units share, that level of expectation in terms of performance in that area.
And part of it, too, is that defensive line. Both units, you can do it without blitzing at times, and those guys up front have done a good job. Tuitt got involved last week as well.
It's no question. If you intend to have a consistent rush, it has to be 4-man in addition to the pressures that you choose. The great units, they can get pressure with 4, and so that's something that we respect and work hard at as well.
Well, it's going to be a tough assignment, as you mentioned, this week with Josh Allen, who can scramble and create some opportunities outside of the pocket. That's going to be one of the challenges for the Steelers. We look forward to watching the game. We look forward to Steelers coming back victorious. Coach, thanks very much. Appreciate the time as always.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for our program tonight. We have a lot going on tomorrow, KDKA TV, with a pregame show at 11:30 in the morning. Even though it's a night game, we'll get you prepared for that. So join us for that, and we have a lot more coverage in the week ahead. But that's going to do it for our program tonight. For Missy Matthews and head coach Mike Tomlin, I'm Bob Pompeani. Have a good week. Steelers and Bills tomorrow night. We'll see you then.